Transfishing is when all my trans friends and I go on a fishing trip. No, wait, that doesn't seem right. Transfishing is when you transition to be a fish, better known as a mermaid. Maybe not. Transfishing is when the animation studio gives a fish tits, long luscious hair and BJLs. I see you, Shark Tale. Okay, that's funny, but it's still not accurate. Transfishing is when a cis person pretends to be trans in order to gain... there's something apparently. I know what you're probably already thinking. Haven't we had this discussion before about transgenders? And I'm gonna have to ask you to sit right the fuck down because technically, yeah, you're right, but there's more to the story. After it was brought to my attention, I got a bit curious because I can recall certain scandals where this term would actually apply in a non-problematic and gatekeepy way. Though I would like to point out that a more appropriate word that I've also seen people use is transbaiting. Personally, I think that's more fitting because it resembles queerbaiting, at the same time as fishing is commonly used to describe race fishing, for example black fishing or Asian fishing, but that's neither here or there. Whatever the case, I remember watching a video by Ready to Glare about the model who came out as trans to deflect criticism. Back in 2019, Carissa Pinkston faced backlash after posting on Facebook saying, "Being transgender does not make you a woman, it simply makes you transgender." She then went on to claim that though we want to be perceived as male or female, in a biological context though, there are males and females. Do you hear that? Shh, listen closely. That's the sound of literally no one asking for your opinion, bitch. Like, yeah. There's male and females, but this is obviously the most condensed explanation that leaves out a lot of nuance that would make the biggest fucking difference. You're just repeating what you read in your biology textbook 6 years ago. You're not bringing anything to the conversation. Besides, who the fuck cares? In any other context, this would be really fucking weird ass behavior. Imagine if my friend bleached their hair and my reaction was to tell them, "You will always be biologically a brunette." Unless you're a mad scientist that is about to lock me up in a test tube and perform unethical experiments on me, my biology should be completely irrelevant to you. At the same time as some of us might wonder why she even cares and feels inclined to share it, it's not just completely batshit crazy, right? Unless you're balls deep into the trans movement and keep up with the science, this is probably gonna be the extent of your knowledge about gender and sex. But when Carissa motherfucking Pinkston was called out on not staying in her own lane, she supposedly retorted by comparing trans identities to reclaiming virginity. Her mind. Am I right, guys? I identify as a 6 feet tall cis guy that's a virgin, but like in a cool way. I could get pussy if I want to, I just don't. In all seriousness though, I don't know where she was going with this argument, but what I can say is that I hate the concept of virginity just as much as I hate the gender construct. Customize your gender, have as much or as little sex as you want to, and stay safe, of course. Being that Carissa was acting like Bobo the Fool online, the circus came to town and everyone on the Bluebird app was clowning on her, which in return prompted her agency to fire her. Obviously, no matter how shitty someone is, in most cases I don't want anyone to lose their source of income, but at the same time she was making them look really fucking bad, and if they didn't fire her, they would be co-signing this behavior. The best thing she could have done is recognize what she did wrong, educate herself, and show everyone her improvement. Obviously, there's always gonna be people holding on to that grudge for one reason or another, but people are more forgiving than you'd think. A lot of people love a good redemption arc. However, that's not how things panned out. Instead, Carissa Pinkston went on Instagram 22nd of July and said, "I wasn't ready to come out about it yet, but today I got fired and I've been receiving hate mail and death threats ever since, so I'm being forced to tell the truth. I'm transgender. I transitioned at a very young age, and I've lived my life as a female ever since. It's been very hard to keep this secret, but what I've said about trans women is a direct reflection of my inner insecurity, and I have since come to realize that I am a woman. We all are. And what a beautiful thing to say. If only a bit of bullying could make Rose of Dawn reflect on her internalized transphobia she's projecting onto others in this way.
You're probably more like this big bull, Lucille.
Except that Carissa wasn't actually transgender. Of course, there are those who pass really well and have had bottom surgery, but you can't really change the past, and whether you like it or not, there are gonna be people who remember you pre-transition, and those from her real life knew she wasn't telling the truth, which then forced her to eventually come clean. For real this time. She made another post on Instagram saying that she panicked and thought coming out as trans would make it better, but it somehow made it so much worse. Truly, I don't know why she thought that. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to know that you're not gonna get away with this type of tomfoolery. The very least you could have done in your apology is to humble yourself rather than stating, I'm only 20, I'm human, I've made mistakes, but I refuse to let them define me. I hope you all can forgive me and move on from this, because I am so much more than this incident, and I am not a coward. I'm not an expert on apologizing because I never have to. You don't have to apologize if you never do anything wrong. Of course, that is a joke. I apologize for the confusion. But please don't beg for people's forgiveness like that. That's not how things work. When you apologize, you should do it because you regret hurting someone or a group of people. And if it's genuine, you need to accept that it's for them to forgive and they don't owe you forgiveness. Otherwise, you come off as this whiny asshole going, guys, I know what I did was bad, but could y'all please forgive me because it's really stressing me out and stuff. I get it, I shouldn't have lied about being trans to excuse my transphobia, but actually I'm beautiful and brave and so much more than this, lol. Besides, imagine if she actually did get away with it. Honestly, it's difficult to predict how she would have gone about it, but after being exposed, she did the only reasonable thing and did an interview with Buzzfeed. And I might add, what an excellent decision to pick Buzzfeed to redeem you. Buzzfeed, known for the very rational and hard-hitting videos with well put together arguments. You might recognize them from their viral video, Women Try Manspreading for a Week, and as you probably remember, it was very well received.
And they were all desperate for a seat and I was taking up 3 seats.
That's not manspreading, that's just you being a fucking asshole!
Really made you reflect on your privilege as a cis white man, didn't it? I personally got castrated that very same day after watching it to show my support of feminism. You go, girls. In her initial comments, Carissa Pinkston opened up and showed us her more vulnerable side, if just for a moment, by stating, I definitely feel like a trans person in a way. In high school, I was really bullied. Personally, I think it's very brave of Carissa to be so openly fucking stupid. Being bullied is by no means anywhere near comparable to being trans. Bullying is just something that can be an aspect of it. She went on to say, I do know what it's like to be bullied and picked on for being different, and I wanted to fit in the community. Just in that moment, I didn't know what to do. Now, she does make it clear that she's also of an oppressed group, that being African American, which I'm pretty sure she's referring to when she says she's been bullied for being different. That is, of course, awful, and no one should have to go through that. But being part of another marginalized community doesn't give you a free pass to disrespect another group of people you know nothing about. You can say that you sympathize with us because you too have been discriminated against, but you're never gonna know exactly how our identity affects every aspect of our life. She went on to say, I got an experience of what a transgender person goes through, and oh my god, and I assume she meant transphobic comments. No, No, you didn't get to experience what it's like to be trans. Seriously, why does she continue? I'm actually suspecting she might purposely make inflammatory statements to create controversy and garner attention. Anyone with a brain would have just said, as an African American woman, I've had to navigate a world filled with prejudice and I've been affected by institutionalized racism. I understand that it's difficult enough without ignorant people spreading their bigoted opinions regarding a group of people they know nothing about. That's exactly what I did and I regret it deeply. I would have been way more lenient with Carissa if she had a well thought through and mature response. I don't know if I truly got my point across. What I'm trying to say is that oppression is like an onion. It got layers and they interact with each other. What she did was just straight up lying about being trans to get away with transphobia. Transbaiting, however, you'd expect to be more of an implication rather than a straight up lie, or am I right or am I right? A more recent case that is a better fit would involve drag queen Plastique Tiara from Rupert's Drag Race. To be completely transparent with you, I'm not knowledgeable when it comes to drag, but I watched the video by Miss Peppermint, who's a trans woman and a drag queen, I believe. She had a discussion with Trinity Taylor and Melanie Von Cruz about the situation. I'll leave a link in the description if you want to hear about it from someone who actually knows what they're talking about rather than just repeating what they've heard. From what I've learned, there's this thing called a fishy drag queen that refers to someone who convincingly resembles a cis woman rather than a caricature. Just googled it and I thought fishy was a play on baiting, but no. Apparently it's a reference to the smell of the vajayjay. Love that for them. Plastique Tiara is the fishy queen, which isn't a problem in and of itself. The controversy rose when Tiara opened up an OnlyFans and the images are supposedly airbrushed so the breastplates look like actual boobs. I haven't actually seen the images, so that's all that I know. She doesn't specify in her bio that she's a drag queen, and this is her art either. So from my interpretation, this is a problem, because she's supposedly profiting off of the trans identity, at the same time as she has the privilege of going through her life as a cis man when she's out of drag. Now, I'm not a trans woman, but rather a trans man, so I don't have a horse in this race, so please take my opinion with a grain of salt. Obviously not really the same situation, but this reminds me of the time Abigail Thorne, otherwise known as Philosophy Tube, made a joke wishing President Trump the best of luck in her transition. This was way before Abigail had come out as a trans woman, so at the time she faced backlash by people who thought this wasn't a joke that she, as someone we believe to be cis, was allowed to make. Little did we know that it was her joke to make. She just hadn't come out yet. That's the issue when it comes to holding people accountable in this manner, and I don't know how to solve it. Discuss that in the comments. We don't know how Plastique Tiara identify. She might be in the closet, we simply don't know, and that is the root of the problem. She doesn't talk about it, like any of it. In all honesty, I don't know where I stand on this. That's why I once again would like to encourage you to go and watch Miss Peppermint's video, cause it does a way better job than I could ever do. Last but not least, I'd like to say that this video was inspired by none other than our cis king on Twitter ranting about how AFAB trans people are transfishing to participate in MLM relationships that they've fetishized. So basically he was reinventing transgender to attack specifically gay and bi trans people. Maybe I'll make a video going more in depth about trans people in same-sex relationships. Let me know if that's something you'd be interested in. Like this video if you enjoyed it, comment for the engagement, subscribe and turn on notifications if you haven't already. Drink water, take care, follow me on Twitter by the way. See you in my next video, bye!